Hi, everybody. This is Chelsea Behrens, and welcome to the Leading with Authenticity show. This show is for people who are looking for wisdom and tools to be their real selves while also having the career that they want to have. And we're here today with Lynn Whitbeck. Lynn, it's a pleasure to have you here today. And Lynn is the founder and CEO of Petite to Queen, building on her 30 years of successes and experiences as Vice President of Business Development and COO of direct consumer technology startups. She has transitioned to executive consulting, providing strategic expertise for the development and management of client programs. With this real-world background, Lynn brings a marketing, sales, business development, and operations management cross-sector experience to Petite to Queen. So welcome, Lynn. It's a pleasure having you here today.
Hey, Chelsea. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, Lynn, I wanted to start out with something where it's happened in my own career. So I've actually found ways where I've shied away from opportunities because I haven't really felt confident about my ability to do my job. And I'm curious how you mentor women to develop their confidence.
You know, Chelsea, that's a great question. And we all have times of self-doubt, myself included. I'm going to start with you can't solve a problem unless you know what it is. Yeah. So first you must identify and understand what's holding you back, why you feel self-doubt. So whatever scares, frustrates, or disturbs you, it's not going to go away. Yeah. However, you can learn to minimize self-doubt. It's like a roadblock. You learn to go around or over or under, or you choose an alternate route. The roadblock is still there, but you've moved past it. And I have developed with my team a short set of steps to overcome self-doubt. And it's, yes, I'm going to get through this. So
I love that.
Why is why you. So why you add value. You're an expert. You know, you help or solve problems or challenges. And you use this to build your value vault. And then you can constantly go back to that value vault when you have these moments of self-doubt. So the next part is you're allowed to fail. You know, and I want everyone to really embrace that you give yourself permission to fail. What is your worst case scenario? Think about that. I do. That's a lot of times how I go through this process. What's the best thing that can happen? And then what's likely to happen?
Yeah.
So then when we get to the yes, the S, the first one is the success. You know, and that's really about your mindset. And you want to reframe your mindset. And that's what these steps go through. And going back to that value vault so you can access it. And part of reframing your mindset, there's a real practical piece where you can just breathe. You know, take a moment, look at your value vault and go, yeah, I can see success. And then finally, it's surge forward. And, you know, there's the old adage, nothing ventured, nothing gained. But once you've gone through this process and you've got your value vault, and you can take that leap of faith. So, I mean, this is sort of the Cliff Note version of how to move past your fears and self-doubt. So.
Yes, thank you. I love that. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. That's great. And, you know, tagging on to that a little bit. So I know there's been research done where women specifically, when they see something in a job description that they haven't done before, they don't apply to that job. Do you think that ties into that self-doubt, and this method would help with that too?
Oh, absolutely. I would never recommend not applying for a job because they have something listed that you don't think you quite fit. Yeah. When you go through your value vault, you realize you actually have a much broader skill set than you ever imagined. Because everything you do, there are other ways that you can look at it. And it's great to brainstorm this with a group of friends, and do it over dinner with a bottle of wine. I don't know.
Right.
But it's, going through that and building that value vault means that it's just like in Harry Potter, when he goes and he can access his vault, he can go and get what he needs out of it and pull it out.
Right.
And so it's the same thing if you're looking at an application. And don't let that hold you back.
Okay. Thank you. And then, so one of the things, Lynn, that I do here in Seattle is I host personal development events for both women and men have been at these events. And what I found when the men were in the room, and it's great to have the men there, but what I found was that the women didn't speak up as much when the men were around, and the men were really the ones that were engaging the most. So I'm curious how you are coaching women to speak up more, and then why that's important.
Yeah, this is speaking up with confidence and assurance is a vital leadership trait that all women need to acquire. And it's like everything else we learn. It's a process, and we get there through practice. Yes. So just like the previous answer, you're going to start with what's holding you back, and knowing the why, that's going to move you forward to the how. How can you address this? How can you get above, around, under this? And then the what. What are you going to use to surge forward? So, so this could sound a little flip, but I want you to imagine, and everyone in the audience, just imagine for a moment that you're standing completely still. You're motionless, and you're not doing anything. You're just locked in place. It's so much harder to be locked in place, to be that stationary, rather than to be able to move. And so when you think about that, and you put yourself through that mind exercise, not taking action hurts as much as vigorous action. So it's this transformation process that requires practice to learn a new skill. You must get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. So every situation you're in, you have to adapt. Change your mode of how you approach things. You're never going to learn if you don't try something new. So I'm going to take another step back here, and I want everyone to think back to when you were learning to ride a bike. I mean, we all learned how to ride a bike everywhere in the world, almost, pretty much. And no matter how many times you fell off or crashed, you kept getting back on with fierce determination. I mean, everyone has failures throughout their life. And it's from falling off that proverbial bike to when you're growing up to making a mistake on a project at work. And what sets you apart is how you respond to the situation. Your approach to learning a new skill, such as speaking up in meetings, should incorporate what we call the ADAPT technique. And that's active problem solving, determining the root cause or digging deep, analyzing the best solution, and then performing rapid improvement. So that comes back from my Six Sigma days. Improvement. But it is take action now, and then test results, and then refine as needed. So you can pivot, you can modify something. And, I'm going to have everybody take a step back again and think about that bike. And you're getting back on that bike when you're learning, because you know how cool it's going to be once you've got it all figured out. And it was going to open up a whole new world for you. You just knew it. And it did. So when I think about that, I'm riding my bike and the wind is in my hair, and it has expanded everything in infinite ways. And when you give yourself permission to be uncomfortable, and you take that leap and you adapt. So this applies at work and in all professional settings. And being proactive is empowering. It's an opportunity to quickly take thoughtful and sound action. And it's not the accomplishment you achieve, but the freedom you realize as well.
The freedom. And when I think of my bike specifically, when I was a kid, it was freedom. It was absolutely tied to freedom because then I could go to my friend's house, right? So
Yes.
same
Go to
kind
the
of thing.
park, you could ride up to school. I mean, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
And that's what you're giving yourself when you're speaking up and letting your voice be heard.
Okay. I love that. That's good. Thank you. And then sometimes, Lynn, so I do find times when I get really weird questions that come out of nowhere. I don't know where they come from. And I understand that you have a strategy to help with this too. And it's called the pickle strategy, which is a funny name. So I want to hear what that is.
Yeah, because you're in a bit of a pickle.
Right. Oh, okay. Got it.
So when you receive a question that's seemingly from left field or one that appears pointless, downright weird,
Yeah.
you want to stop and take a moment to consider this pickle.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you pause and you gather yourself before responding.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter why they asked this oddball question. Okay. Control your emotions. No eye rolls. No heavy, frustrated sighs. Oh my God, why is he asking me this? So you need to keep in mind that this is a team member, a peer, your boss, another human being. Okay. Yeah. They deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. Let go of any attitude, or annoyance, and respond in a professional, courteous, and friendly manner.
Okay.
You want to express your answer with honesty and civility, no matter how silly the question.
Okay.
So that's the pickle. And that's how you solve that. You respond, and utilizing the strategy, it's going to move your conversation forward past the pickle.
Right.
And, I want everyone to think about it. What may seem like an AWOL question, it could be an alternate approach or flexing a unique prism, a viewpoint that you haven't thought of. And while there might not be any there, I really like to use this analogy that if you tilt your paradigm, you could discover that the question has real merit. And so at the end of the day, responding with grace and respect is so important to building, maintaining, and strengthening your relationships.
Yeah. And at the very beginning there, where you started with the pause. So I've been reading a lot about pauses lately and how much power there is in them. And oftentimes we want to fill the space. So having that pause really, like you said, collect your thoughts, use the space. It's okay.
Yeah, the powerful pause. I've written articles about that, and I talk about it a lot. And it's so important for women because we do want to fill the space, especially women. And the powerful pause is very important to just stop and let the other person respond or to gather your own thoughts.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then, so when a woman specifically is in a career where maybe she doesn't feel like she can be her true self and still advance in that career. So she wants to progress. Maybe she has her sights on COO. Doesn't feel like she can be her true self. How would you guide her?
So, Chelsea, I think there's several ways to answer this question.
Okay.
And so I'm going to interpret it in the following manner.
Okay.
So there could be either internal or external forces at work in this situation. In essence, I think that when you're looking at those internal and external forces, you're being asked to compromise in some way. Mm-hmm. And so I'm gonna focus on the internal.
Okay.
So because sort of fits in with what we've been talking about. And one internal cause could be self-doubt, which I answered earlier, and we talked about it. And that's real common. And an alternate internal influence could be questioning if you're on the wrong track. And in this case, you would feel unable to develop your true self and your gifting set. And what you're really looking for is clarity to move forward. So my advice is to stop and to have the courage to ask if you should be there.
Mm.
You know, is this the right organization for you, or the right silo, you know, the right department? And you know, with introspection, and I would review your value vault.
Yeah.
You can uncover what feels authentic to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're going to discover that. And once you have that clearness, then being authentic becomes your action. It may, once again, require you to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And my advice is to recognize what you have to gain and why you should take the risk of acting outside of your comfort zone. You must stretch to gain confidence and assurance, to move past the internal force that's blocking you.
Yeah.
I used that analogy earlier, you know. And so once again, I've got a shortcut. It's called stretch. So you can make this power play. And it's to shed your self-doubts, trust your instincts, radiate to people who share your values, just like you and I connected at the Power of She event.
Right.
You know, engage with authenticity. And thoughtful dialogue can establish common ground with anyone. And, you know, you want to cultivate those new relationships, and then with honest and continuous engagement. So stretch.
Yeah.
And so being your authentic self, it's just a rewarding journey, and it can lead you to a greater work and life satisfaction. And that's my take on this, of really addressing those internal forces.
That's good and helpful. And in there, you talked about the value vault. Now, at Petite to Queen, when you're working with women, are you tapping into that value vault to help them create it, or what do you do to get them to find that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually part of our course we have a course on speaking up in meetings and also on self-doubt. So, and it's also included in the imposter syndrome. So we sort of cover it in a number of ways. And we currently, on the website, we have webinars and podcasts that really talk about, you know, digging into that, of how you add value, you know, and what sets you apart. And, you know, some exercises to go through so that you can start to feel that, you know, fill that value vault. And so you can really open your eyes to everything that you have to offer. And it allows you then to better articulate that at work when you're asking for a raise, if you are interviewing for a new position, you know, whatever it happens to be. And definitely to utilize that when you're in situations that you're unsure of, you tap into that.
So Lynn, you and I met at a networking event, and you shared this just briefly, through the Power of She. And I'm curious how you encourage people to form relationships, so that, because when it comes to asking for a raise, or, you know, getting some mentorship, it helps to meet other people that have already done that before you. So how do you recommend creating those connections?
Yeah, you want to seek out new opportunities or new venues, new groups, because not only making connections with peers in other departments at your office or at work, but also outside of your industry, or even within your industry at conferences or trade shows, that building that network and finding people who share your values is really important. And then, you know, making that connection. And these things come about in a lot of different ways, but it is about being your genuine self when you're meeting them, and finding that common ground. So it's not the, oh, why are you at this conference? Or, you know, it's really getting into something, you know, like, you know, where do you see yourself? If you were not here at this conference, what would you be doing? You know, and then, oh, I would be out hiking in Yosemite and with my camera, and like, oh, wow. So, you know, how often are you able to go? Are you an amateur photographer? Do you post any of your images? I mean, opens up a whole new conversation. And then from there, you discover that you have some common ground.
Yeah.
something that you both, an interest that you both share. You sort of, it takes it off on a pivot.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah. Yes. And then what would you say, Lynn, as women, what are 3 of the most important skills that we need to learn so that we can have a career that we truly want to have?
Okay. So, and once again, there's a lot of different ways to interpret this. So I'm just going to go down with you, talk about the cornerstone of my success and what I feel. I call it the duh strategy.
I like that.
So, and number 1 is to do what you say you will do. And this includes everything you engage in, from very simple things to complex tasks, you know. So as an example, for me, if I remember an email I promised to send and I've gone to bed, I will get up, I'll write it, and I'll send it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easy to shrug it off and say, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do it first thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
But don't shrug it off. Not only do things come up and you forget again, but essentially you've demonstrated that you're not reliable.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about you, Chelsea, but I am way too busy to work with unreliable individuals. So the other thing is to think about is perception.
Mm-hmm.
And perception is everything. And you always want to be perceived as capable, dependable, trustworthy.
Yeah.
And keeping your promises establishes your credibility. And to be perfectly honest, it separates you from the pack.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a crucial building block for long-term relationships.
Right.
And accepting the mantle of responsibility, you know, I put that on.
Right.
And actively doing what you say you will do, it's going to empower you in every aspect of your life. So it's that embracing a consistent attitude and the actions needed to exceed expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Gain the confidence of your peers, your coworkers, management. And, you know, when you take charge of your actions and where you lead, you know, others will follow. And that's being a good leader. And people want to work with individuals they can count on. You know, it's that simple.
Wow. Yeah.
So I said I'd do 3. Okay, 2. And I think this is something that women really need to embrace. It's to ask for what you want and need. If you don't ask, you don't get. Mm-hmm. So you have to ask your bosses, your peers, and your team for everything you need to maximize success.
Yeah.
When you don't ask for additional support or an opportunity to lead, you probably won't receive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most of us do not work with mind readers, and I know I never have.
Yeah.
And I've never lived with them either.
Right. Probably a good thing.
So start actively expressing a necessity and ask for it. And you're going to receive a yes quicker and without ambiguity. So my caveat would be to not be overly needy. You know, that gets old fast and people are going to start to tune you out. Yeah. And you may even alienate people you have to work with every day. Right. So, you know, follow that golden rule. And when you do require something, your coworkers are going to be much more responsive, your manager, supervisor, and because you've already established reasonable expectations. So receiving the wherewithal that you need when you need it, it is critical to your success. Yeah. And requesting support and resources, it's paramount to achieving that outcome. Mm-hmm. So that was 2. So I got one more for everybody. One more. And the H is heavy lifting. Oh. And so you take the ownership of heavy lifting and demonstrating leadership by being proactive and doing the work. I make it an absolute rule that I do not. Oh, we're frozen.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. I make it I really embrace this, and I make it a rule with my team that I don't ask them or impact them for anything that I can self-help on. Mm-hmm. So let's put that heavy lifting includes completing the most demanding parts of a work project and minimizing the effort required of your coworkers. And you need to identify challenges and find answers. So come to them with options.
Okay.
And quality communication is another vital element of heavy lifting. So it translates to thoughtful, clear, concise, and timely communication.
Yeah.
And so just once again, I want to take a moment to pause.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. This does not mean you become some Wonder Woman. And you're taking on other people's work. Never, 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 never be a doormat. Infinity. So I've got an example. And so this is just, you receive a request for materials to be shipped to Topeka. And, the requester doesn't provide the shipping information. They just think you know what it is. And but it's not a typical shipping location. And so this is something easy to lift. You can check your system for any shipments to Topeka, and you locate both a warehouse and a factory address. And then you can, do a quick confirmation on Google to check the addresses, especially if the materials, you haven't shipped anything there for a while, right?
Right.
So now you're ready to send an email back. And that email back is going to ask for clarification as to the Topeka location, if it's the warehouse or the factory, and you're going to include the addresses for each. And ta-da! You have made it painless for your coworker to respond with a single email and clarification. None of this 20 emails later, with the answer embedded somewhere in one. It's like, wham, bam, it's done. Right? So it's really simple. And this, it illustrates, this example, the quality communication, identifying and finding the probable answer. You've saved your coworker time, energy, frustration. And effectively, you're demonstrating your commitment as a team player.
Right.
So doing the heavy lifting, at the end of the day, it's all about delivering performance and results. So, and you make it easier for others to work with you. And your actions demonstrate your commitment and your capabilities.
Yeah. And that also demonstrates your value vault, right?
You tapped into that value vault.
Yes.
And you've delivered on it.
Yes. And I know I asked that question about women specifically, but all of that applies to men.
Yeah, absolutely. Ironically, everything we do is really geared towards women, but about 25% of our audience are men. It's the same. The same principles apply.
Yes, exactly. Excellent. Well, Lynn, can you tell us a little bit? I know you shared some of the courses at Petite to Queen, but what's coming up? What can people check into? Where can they find you?
Yeah, it's real easy. It's Petite to Queen, and it's a digit2.com. And that's the way to find us. You can join our weekly wisdoms and receive all the content that we put out every week, whether it's a podcast, an article, webinar, and beyond that, so that you can, dig deep and find some answers for yourself. And just like with everything, if you find a nugget, whether in something that we've got online or within this interview, apply the principles in the simplest way today or this week. Capture it and apply it. And then when it's ready and you're in that situation, you can put it into action exactly when you need it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then that confidence just starts to roll, right?
It builds.
Yep. Excellent. So you also are offering a generous free gift with the audience, the Practical Wisdoms at Work. Do you want to give a little bit of information about what that is too, please?
Practical Wisdoms at Work is our book. It's a quick read. It's a guide which teaches how to supercharge your success through powerful advice and insightful anecdotes so that you can really relate.
Wow. Oh, that's going to be really helpful. And I like that it's a quick read too, because like you said, we're all busy. So, thank you so much. Well, Lynn, is there anything else that you want to share about authenticity based on your experience working with women and men? Anything else?
You know, I think the last thing I want to leave everybody with is, absolutely embrace the concept of getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. Push yourself.
Yeah.
You're never going to move from point A to point B if you don't start that transformation. And it's a process.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's baby steps, and there might be a baby step back. But if you keep making them, you're going to look back one day and go, whoa, wow, I'm doing this. And I never thought I could do this.
Yeah.
And here I am. All right. I'm ready for the next big thing.
Right. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Lynn. This has been a ton of really good information and content. So I appreciate the information, and I look forward to people reading this free book and sharing their information with us.
Yeah, Chelsea, thank you.
Yeah.